Hi, folks. Welcome to an interesting discussion that we're going to have today on common admission errors that you need to avoid to be able to have a successful process. You're welcome once again. Frederick,
Yeah, bro.
I,
Yeah,
I, I hope you I hope you're doing good.
yeah, I'm fine by grace.
That's good to know. So what are we expecting today? Why should we listen have these common admission errors we're going to discuss at the back of our minds before we start the process?
Yeah, everybody does application with the notion that you'll be admitted into a program of choice. So
Okay.
when it comes to a point when you make certain
I
avoidable
hope
mistakes,
you're doing good.
yeah. Um, I hear feedbacks. Is it okay now? Yeah.
No, sorry. It was an error.
Okay. So with the notion that you get admitted and in the end you are being denied admission is somehow not pleasant.
Okay.
So it's good we notice some of the common mistakes that we do. Then,
Okay.
if possible, we avoid them and we are good to go.
Okay. Good. I also think that Canada is becoming one of the hottest country in the world in terms of international education. And a lot of people all over the world are now submitting their applications to come and study in Canada. So getting admission is actually becoming highly competitive. So the errors that we want to discuss today are really critical so that people will begin to know some of these things and have or to be issued an acceptance letter, because if 1,001 people are actually applying for admission in Canada all over the world, some of these errors are very critical. We need to have some of these errors at the back of our minds so that a lot of schools will not refuse us application. That is why I think that it's very critical we discuss some of these issues with the world.
Yeah.
So what will be your first error that those who are watching and those who will come and watch later must have before or during the admission process?
Okay. I think from my point of view, the first thing we should be avoiding is spelling and grammatical errors in our personal statement.
Okay.
Just recently, I helped a colleague of mine to apply for admission. And to my surprise, we uploaded the statement of interest in PDF. But I helped the person draft some points to just get the full content. So she just sent me what she has written, and I didn't go through because I thought I had done enough for her to know what to be done. So I just uploaded directly for her, not knowing they converted back from PDF to Word to check even the number of word count.
Okay.
So they just wrote back to her that the essay should be corrected. It's not complete. The words there is less than 500. So when she sent the email back to me, I was even surprised. I told her, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even check whatever she sent me because I knew I had produced some information." So I was wondering, so do they go to this extent to even convert back from PDF to Word to know the amount of words? Sometimes some of them are technical. They can even study the information there and know that this is not up to 500 words. So it will prompt them to do further checks. So with this, that means that there are certain mistakes that we do we might overlook, but they may affect our application. So the first thing I want to talk about is having spelling and grammatical errors. Yeah, because you are coming to school, you are coming to study, and studying in English speaking countries outside our home countries, sometimes you even require to submit English proficiency test. So if you are from a country like Ghana that we speak English, so sometimes we are waived of the English test. If you are waived of that, then you must prove that you have the tendency to speak good and quality English. So if you are presenting a statement to this same school who has waived you of a requirement, which is English, and you are making spelling and grammatical errors, imagine. It is something which is going to affect your applications. And you might think that the statement that you send, they might not read. Why do you think the application process takes like a month or two or some weeks? Because they go into detail everything you have submitted to them. So avoiding some of these things will enhance our chances of being admitted. Am I to go, or maybe we might be coming one after the other, because this is the first thing I want to talk about, but I have a couple of things I would like to talk about.
We have more to go. Let me also add that because you've spoken about personal statement and checking grammatical errors and those things, what I would like to add in that regard is that we must, or we need to avoid writing weak personal statements. We are talking about personal statement in respect of the essays we write or the statement of purpose, either be for business schools or for normal application process. I'm saying weak statement of purpose because the statement of purpose actually has certain thematic areas that needs to be addressed in respect of whichever level you are applying to. For example, the personal statement is supposed to communicate our strength. The personal statement is supposed to communicate academic background. The personal statement also needs to communicate our experiences. These are things that we need to highlight in the statement of purpose or in the essay or what have you. So if you are somebody who fails to address these concerns in the personal statement, it clearly means that your personal statement is weak. Just like the way you have indicated that there is a number of ways that you are supposed to there is a number of ways your personal statement must cover, or this will give you a word range. So if your words are less than 500, it means that that statement is equally weak. You see, if there are grammatical errors like the way you have pinpointed, it means that that statement of purpose is equally weak. So we need to pay attention to this in respect of the personal statement that we'll be using to submit our applications.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is skipping over the application requirements.
Okay.
Yeah. Someone will just search through a school and will find maybe a course which will entice the person to apply, but will never go through the application requirements. Maybe the school needs certain kind of things that you have to provide, especially for business programs. You may require GMAT or GRE. In some research courses, you may need supervisors and stuff. So you may not want to look at everything. You just see the course, it enticed you, then you start applying. You may even end up not being able to submit, or you submit and you get refused. So we shouldn't skip over the admission requirements. We should always go through them and see if we are okay to apply. Yeah. And every university is different.
Okay.
The requirements of York University may be different from the requirement of Windsor University. And Windsor will also be different from maybe Waterloo. So what someone did to get admitted does not mean you will also do same to get admitted. Maybe like we are doing here, we are not immigration experts, but from our own experiences and things maybe we've read or learned, we can sometimes talk from our experience. Like the admission requirements I'm saying, someone sent me an offer letter from an university, a conditional offer letter from a university. When I went to, I realized that the conditions for them to be admitted is that they should submit a GMAT score and also make a deposit. But during the application process, it was there as optional. You see, when you are doing the online application, it may be optional there because you are to upload certain documents. So it may be optional there for you to upload. But during the confirmation of your acceptance, that time you are to submit. So it's different from uploading your document and sending for official acceptance letter. So it may be optional there, but if you were to go through the application requirements, you may see that maybe after admission, these are the things that you will do to have your acceptance letter. So if you skip all these things, you end up getting in a way that you may not be able to continue. Also, some schools do not even take tuition deposit, others do take. So even if you do not read about this and after admission you have to make a non-refundable deposit, some schools take deposit, but in case of a situation where you are being denied your study permit, or you are not able to fulfill some requirements for you to attend this institution, you may be refunded your deposit that you made. But there are some institutions that they will not, they state that a non-refundable deposit of. So if you are to make an amount of like even $1,000 as a non-refundable deposit, it is a huge sum of amount, which maybe your application may be accepted or refused. So if you are able to read over all these things, you may choose other options to see which will be comfortable for you to engage in.
Thank you. You have touched a very important topic. What you have said, I will summarize it to be insufficient research about the school. A lot of us, we do insufficient research about the school we want to attend. So insufficient research about the school in terms of college or university. It's good to know that in terms of applying to a particular program, there are 3 requirements that we need to consider during the application process. We have general admission requirements. We have course-specific requirements. Then we have additional requirements. The general requirements talk about attending if you want to apply for bachelor's program, if you want to apply for graduate program, it talks about your undergraduate program supposed to be 4 years. You need to have a minimum of 60 or 70% GPA in the last 2 years of your study. Then it also talks about the language proficiency and those ones. Then the course specific requirement talks about you getting a B or a minimum of B+ in each of your undergraduate courses. Then the last one that I have mentioned is what the additional requirement. The additional requirement talks about certain important documentation that the school will be expecting from you. Like you have mentioned, GRE score, GMAT score. These are part of additional requirement that the school will be expecting from you. So you need to know from the word go that based on the program I am applying to, the school will be requesting for a GMAT score. So during the application process, some of the schools will really ask you if you have already taken your GMAT score. Some of the schools will also ask you if you have already registered your GMAT score or if you'll be taking the GMAT score in the future. This is very critical so that you wouldn't be taken by surprise when they have given you the conditional acceptance letter and the school is now asking you to submit your GMAT score and you are now taken by surprise. Then you now be asking if you need to provide this. Another important insufficient information most of us know about the school is the tuition fee. If you check all schools portals, the tuition fee of that particular program, be it for domestic students or international students, are stated on the school's portal. They state it. Some of the schools even state the tuition fee per semester. Most of us do not check this thing. So we end up applying to universities that we can't afford. You know that the tuition fee for this particular university for 2 years is about 30,000. The tuition fee for maybe your 4-year PhD program is 45,000. You know very well. So if you can afford, you go ahead and apply. If you can't afford, you change the school. But most of us don't do it. Another insufficient information most of us do about the admission process is that most of us do not take time to check the financial aid in the schools. So we must begin to check if the school have financial aids that will be giving us, financial aid in terms of funding, financial aid in terms of scholarship, financial aid in terms of award, financial aid in terms of bursaries. We need to know all these things from the word go, so that if you are somebody who has a good grade, but you do not have money to pay for your tuition fees, then you hide at the back of what, getting a scholarship to be able to attend school in that particular university or in that particular college. But if you have not done any research about all these things, it means that you will be making a mistake, because the success of your admission, the success of your application, the success of your schooling in that particular university, in that particular province, in that particular country, depends on things that you begin to do from day one, things that you begin to do before you submit the application. Once you have done this insufficient researching about the school, you'll be found wanting. That is what I want to add to the critical points that you have raised.
Yeah, that's good. And I think the mistakes some of our people also do is that we don't tailor application to the specific university we are applying.
Good.
They have a personal York University, and they will be applying to Windsor University, and they will not even go to adjust the personal statement, change the school's name, change even the course, because you cannot write a personal statement which does not relate to the particular course that you are going to offer.
That's true.
People just have one personal statement there. Any application they do, they just upload. If you do that, since the personal statement is a requirement and you do not meet, you will not be given the admission. It is something we should just find time and work on. People will not even read about each institution has even different policy about personal statements.
Yes.
The university you are applying to may tell you that at most 2 pages. You have like 3, 4, 5 pages of personal statement. And for saying this, I'll even add up my next point, that making your personal statement too long. Yeah, you see, it should be something that you are saying about yourself and how the course and the university's approaches to the course will impact your life. So it shouldn't be anything different from reflecting what the course will impact you. So imagine you're applying to York University and you have a personal statement you made to Windsor University. So do you think the course that you were going to do at Windsor is the same as the course you are coming to do at York? And do you think the impact of the program or the areas, specific areas of interest of the program at Windsor is the same as that of York? No. So anytime you are doing an application, you should make sure that your personal statement or anything about the application is tailored to the specific university that you are going to apply. You shouldn't have a general thing for everybody, no, because the focus of every university is different. That is why otherwise they would all be a consolidated university, then they will just place you into one. But everybody has a different goal or different angle that they are looking at, different way of impacting the lives of their students. So you have to tailor your admission to that specific university that you are applying to. Also, I just want to make things in one, like I'm talking more about the personal statement. Also, one thing you should know is that I remember in our previous session, somebody asked about when you copy and paste a quote from someone.
Yes.
That is why I want to tender in this thing. You see, your personal statement means personal statement. Anything that you are doing, any application you are doing is from your own self. You are applying to study there. So everything you are doing there should reflect you. The school wants to know more about you, not about others. So you shouldn't be using so many quotes from, because the personal statement, like you have to do 500 words, and you are bringing in things that someone has said to cover like 200 or even 150 words. That means that 150 words is not reflecting you, but the thing is personal statement. So you should not be including quotes from others and those types to meet even your word count. Everything in there should reflect you. It should be you all along, and how what you are going to study is going to affect you and the people that you want to serve, or the people you want to impact in the future. That is something I want to also talk about.
Thank you, Senior. You have spoken about area of interest. I'm not going to speak about area of interest, but I want to, based on the area you have spoken about, to talk about location within Canada. What I'm going to say will cut across Canada, US, Germany, Australia, everywhere. But let me start with Canada. If you are somebody who wants to study in Canada, it is good to know that we have 10 provinces in Canada. We have where Frederick and I, we are at Ontario, we have British Columbia, we have Manitoba, New Brunswick, Saskatchewan, Alberta, wherever. We need to know that all these locations that I have mentioned, the cost of living is not the same. The cost of living in Ontario is different from the cost of living in Alberta. It's different from the cost of living in Saskatchewan. If you are going to apply to a university in Ontario, you must know that the cost of living in Ontario is higher than in Alberta, is higher than in Saskatchewan, is higher than New Brunswick. So you need to prepare ahead of time and know that you need more money to be able to stay in Ontario. It is also good to know that the location in which you find yourself, the location of the university will also determine how high or how low the tuition fee is. If your university is at Ontario, you should know that the tuition fee for most universities in Ontario, they are high as compared to universities in Saskatchewan. The same way, the rent in Ontario is higher than the rent in Saskatchewan, is higher than rent in other places. So your location should be at the back of your mind, that once you are applying to maybe a most demanding location, all these things will rise. Now, it's also good to know that the program you are going to study may not necessarily be the type of job that is of high demand in that particular province. For example, if you are going to study engineering, you want to study program relating to oil and gas, you need to know that in Saskatchewan and in Alberta, they need a lot of people who have background in mining, a lot of background in engineering, a lot of background in technology. If you want to study program relating to health, you should know that in Saskatchewan, they need a lot of health workers. So your location will also depend on what jobs that are in high demand. So we need to pay attention to the location so much. The last thing I would like to talk about location is that the location of the university will also determine how low or how high the acceptance rates are. For example, universities in Ontario, if you want to apply to the University of Toronto, if you know that the acceptance rate for University of Toronto is very low, if 100 people have applied to University of Toronto, people who may get admission out of the 100 may be 45, because it has lower acceptance rate. If you're applying to universities that are maybe people may refer to it as the countryside, you need to know that the acceptance rates for university like Memorial University of Newfoundland, University of Prince Edward Island, these universities have higher acceptance rate as compared to university like Toronto, because this university actually has a lower acceptance rate. University like British Columbia have a lower acceptance rate. So the location of the university or how how well known the university is will also depend on if the acceptance rates are high or if the acceptance rates are low. So the location plays a significant impact in terms of your rent, in terms of your tuition, in terms of your living expenses and what have you. Frederick, I'm done. Frederick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Also, I want to talk about submitting incomplete documents.
Okay.
Sometimes in the application process, there will be some documents, they may not be as thorough there as required,
Okay.
but they may boost your admission process. So
Okay.
if you do not complete the document submission, you may not end up not getting admitted because some of the documents boost your application.
Okay.
Imagine you are sending an application and the school you have maybe English proficiency from your school, and the school needs something like a test score, English test score, and you have a proficiency, you know you are from an English speaking country. Some of the schools want to know that you were taught in English for 3 years of your studies. What shows? What is the evidence? You may think you are from Ghana, English speaking country, so that's all. But there's a column to upload such a document. You just get your English proficiency letter from your school, then you upload. But some people ignore that. They maybe refuse admission and they will not know why. Sometimes there are some documents like curriculum, even submitting a CV. Some people submit CVs they prepared like 3 years back. So you even
not
check
up to date.
Yeah, you even check the current CV, the date, and it will be like from 2024 to date, from 2019, 2016 to date. Meanwhile, they may have even changed 2 companies. You should let your CV be up to date because the experience that you have on your CV counts in your application process. So you may have to update every document that you are uploading in your application process, and you should make sure that you complete every document that the school needs from you. You shouldn't leave any space for ambiguity. Like you want someone to think, to understand what you mean. No, you should be able to present everything.
Oh, Frederick. Frederick? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Frederick, I think, yeah, Frederick? No, I can't hear you. Please check your connection. Now, Frederick's connection is actually, I think, is fluctuating. So I can't hear you. Now, I think he's having a problem with his connectivity. Now, let's move on. I would like to talk about the relationship between our previous academic background and how it relates to the program you are now applying to. For example, you have a background in education. So your current background is education. Now you want to apply for a master's program or a PhD program. there are two specific guidelines that you need to follow in terms of which program you should apply to. Number one, the first one is that there should be a progression in your educational career. Progression in the sense that what you have studied as your undergraduate program, maybe bachelor's. Oh, I lost Freddy. Maybe, okay, he's coming back. Let me bring him on. Yeah, Frederick.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm using my phone and there was a call on the phone. That's why
I told you to always ignore the call if you are using phone.
I didn't even touch it, but it just went back. I don't know if it used because it used the microphone. That's why.
Okay, so I was talking about the relation. I'll give you the chance, but just because I've started, I was talking about the relationship between our current academic background and what we are now going to pursue, be it undergraduate, graduate, or postgraduate program. So if I have a background in education, there are two specific requirements that will lead me in terms of which program I should study. The first one is that there should be a progression in terms of the background I am currently having with what I'm going to study. The second one is that there can also be using the work I'm doing now, the experiences I have gained from my current job. I can base upon that experience to be able to apply to the next program. But the major mistake we make is that most of us, we cross carpet. I have a background in education. People will cross carpet to apply for a program in health. The school may give you admission. The school will admit you if they realize that you qualify. But the visa officer will refuse your visa, saying that they didn't think that you are going to school. They didn't think that you return because you are switching career, which actually falls against the visa regulations. Frederick has already said that we are not visa officers. We are only sharing our personal opinion. So you can't just cross carpet in terms of the program you are going to study. The program you're going to study should be relating to your background, progression in your background, or you want to capitalize on your on your experiences in your current job to be able to study something that has to do with what the experiences or the position you occupy now. So cross carpeting is a major mistake most people do. You may cross carpet and the probability that you may be issued admission, but in most instances, your visa application will be refused if you cross carpet. Now, I also want to add that the program we're going to apply to vary from a university to a university. If you want to study something in finance, maybe maybe MA, is it MA accounting? Maybe the areas of research in school A may be different from MA finance, the areas of research in school B. So we need to have time, study the various names each schools give their programs, and be sure that the program we are actually applying to, we have the expertise, we have the technical know-how, and we can actually study that program and study it very well. Don't just apply to any program because a lot of people are applying to it, because the strengths of the programs are not the same. The educational system in Canada, in US, in wherever, is actually different from what we experience in our own countries. So we need to be very sure of our strengths in terms of the program we are applying to, and what the strengths of our academic record, or the strength of our current academic record in respect of the program you're now going to apply to. This is very important. It's critical. Frederick?
Yeah. Also, I was talking about incomplete document. Yeah. You see, even some schools after admission, you have to submit your documents to them. So these documents, some of them need to be evaluated. So initially spoke about making research about the admission procedure. So some of them need to be even notarized. make it authentic. Some of them needs to be evaluated and converted to the Canadian system. So you should know all these things before, because if you have a conditional offer and you have to do these things and you do not meet them, your application is still incomplete.
Yeah.
Also, the one thing I've realized that people take too long to write a strong application because they may wait till the deadline approaching, then they will start applying to institutions. So because you want to catch up with deadlines, you may even make some errors.
Exactly.
There are some documents you may not even get because to even apply for some of your transcripts and those stuff from your institutions, and to even get a lecturer or someone to be a reference, you need to speak with them, even to get your lecturers' attention sometimes, because they are also busy as well. So if you give some short room time for yourself to apply for your programs, sometimes it also affects your application because you may not have enough time to prepare well to meet certain documentations. Also, I think people should learn from their experiences, especially in the school application, visa application, everything, because the mistake you did not to be accepted, you should not repeat them. Yeah. So we should be learning from our experiences. Like we are here speaking from our experience. So you should learn from the experience that you have in previous applications. Yeah. Also, the last thing I would like to talk about is that some schools also do interviews for their admission. So you should prepare for them. And the interview, from my experience in Canada, when they are interviewing you, the kind of information they want to get is not the book knowledge or the chew and pour knowledge that we used to know. People can go and study, maybe they are being interviewed on accounting. They'll go and learn about double entry. They'll go and learn about financial statements. No. They want to know the knowledge you have in accounting. Even if they are asking you a question about double entry, they will not ask you that when you sell goods to party A, what will be the accounting principle, or how are you going to apply the double entry principle? No. They will ask you something that you would have to reason. They want to know what is in you. That is what we have been advocating you use to write your personal statement. So you should learn about even the institution that you are applying to. These are the things they want to know if really you have interest in the institution. So they will ask you some questions about the school you have applied to. If you are not able to, they will even know you don't have interest, because if you have interest in the school, you should read about the school and know about the school. They will ask you questions about the course that you have applied to. If you are not able to, they will say, so you applied to this course, but we are asking you something specific about the course, because every course has an area of interest or a focus. So you should know the area that enticed you to even apply. So when you are being interviewed by these schools, they want to know how you are interested in the course, the school, and what motivated you to apply. So you should prepare well for their interviews. Even it's the same as applying to jobs. You should have interest in what you want to do. So if you don't prepare well for their interviews, in the end, the interview may even fail you in your admission quest. So my brethren, because there are some sisters also listening. So brethren, these are things that we, from my experience, I think we have to do to avoid some of the common mistakes. Bismarck, you add, and if there is anything we'd like to talk about.
I want to add that especially graduate and postgraduate admission process can be very challenging. And this is not admission that you can just stand today and just submit. For graduate and or master's and PhD programs, you need advanced preparation. One of the preparations that you need to do in terms of these applications is that most schools will ask you to reach out to a supervisor in the school. The names, their areas of research, their websites, their emails are on the school's portal. It's stated there categorically, for this program, you need to secure a supervisor before you submit application.
Yeah.
That is a categorical statement. It simply means that you can't submit admission in that school if you have not secured a supervisor. It's an emphatic statement. If you have not secured a supervisor and you submit application, your application will not be looked into it. They will refuse you. If you are applying to a school of that nature, please start now. You need to secure a supervisor, and it's good to know that once you have secured a supervisor, it means that about 95% sure that you're going to get funding for that program, because the supervisors, the departments have funding on their own. That is the first thing I would like to say. In other schools, they will tell you that you do not need a supervisor before you submit application to this school. Schools that are like that, then you should know that you do not have enough work to do. But the risk is that most people apply to such schools, so getting admission becomes very competitive. So I always advise that even though schools may tell you not to apply or not to get a supervisor before you apply, try reaching out to the supervisors. Their names, their areas of research are there. The common mistake people do is that schools will ask you to reach out to a supervisor before you apply. People will not reach out to the supervisors. Another one is that another error most people also do in this respect is that some of the schools are even kind. They will tell you that just list a supervisor that you feel like working with. Some of the schools are so liberal like that. So what you have to do is just look through the supervisors and see whose area of interest aligns with yours. Just indicate his name in that column and move on. Now, if you are not sure of the information that you are getting on the school's portal, if the information on the school portals or the school portal is scanty, one of the smart things you can do is to reach out to graduate coordinator. Their contacts are always on the school's portal. Reach out to them, ask them the necessary questions, ask them questions concerning funding, ask them questions concerning supervisor whatsoever. This is a common mistake most people do. Their contacts, their emails, and those things are not just there for being their sake. They are there for you to reach out to them, have conversations with them, discuss the difficulties that you are facing with them. They are always there to help you. Frederick?
Yeah, I think that's all we've said. So we would like to add up.
Okay. I think that's all I would like to say. The last thing I would like to say is that getting admission now in Canada is becoming very competitive. Frederick, is that a true statement?
Yeah. Even competitive means you may even have the chance when you stand tall, but it's becoming hard. Even sometimes you have the qualification and it's not going to be easy.
You think you have graduated at the University of Ghana, Legon. You have had first class. People have first class from UCC, KNUST, UHAS, UDS. Nigerian universities are there. South Africa universities are there. Universities in Cameroon, Senegal. Then people are moving from US to school in Canada. People are moving from Germany to study in Canada. People are moving from UK, Belgium, Netherlands. They are China, India. Where have you? They are all coming to Canada. That tells you that your first class alone will not do the magic for you. You need to put in an extra effort. That extra effort has to do with all these information that we have spoken about. getting admission is actually a holistic approach. If it's becoming competitive, you need to justify why you should be given admission. You need to justify if you are the right candidate for that school, especially if you are somebody who wants a scholarship, if you are somebody who wants some form of funding. This is just one. Now, the second one is that we know all over the world, Canada is the only country that has this is a pathway you can follow to be able to get your permanent residency. People are in certain countries, every 6 months they need to renew their residence permit. Every 6 months they must renew. But Canada, it's not like that. People are living in certain countries for 10 years, 20 years. They are not even citizens. But for Canada, within 5 years, you become a citizen. These are certain things that is driving a lot of people to come to Canada. So you must put in a lot of work into your application process. Don't just apply to only one school thinking you have first class, so I'm going to get admission. See, they say luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You must prepare. If you have the means, apply to 2 schools, 3 schools, 4 schools. You can even apply to 10 schools if you are not lucky. If you have not considered all the errors that we have spoken about, you will not get admission. So at least apply to a minimum of 2 schools. Just prepare in advance. Most schools will take $120. Some are taking $140 as application fee. Try to get about $200 and something down, so that when the application portals are open, you can apply to 2 schools. Apply to one school that needs you to secure a supervisor. In case you have gotten one, then you apply to another school that says you just have to submit application in case you have not gotten a supervisor, or you don't need to secure a supervisor. I'm saying this in the sense that I know some supervisors can be like our African brothers. They only have space for 3 students, but they will go ahead to 10 students to apply. And at the end of the day, they need to choose only 3 students that can be under them. This can become problematic, because if you think that you have already secured a supervisor who asks you to apply, so you don't need to worry, and that supervisor has already given go ahead to 10 students, but he has only space for 3 or 4 or 5. It means at the end of the day, they are not going to look at the totality of the documentation that you have submitted. They are not going to look at your statement of purpose. I keep stressing that the statement of purpose, the letter of motivation, your personal letter or the personal essay is what they use in most cases to drop a lot of applicants. So this clearly shows that you need to pay much attention to writing these personal statements. Your academic background, you need to highlight your strengths. You need to highlight your Frederick. Today your network is really busy. Yeah. So you need to highlight.
I keep receiving calls.
Okay. So you need to highlight those things. You need to highlight your leadership position. You need to highlight the skills that you have acquired. You need to highlight your research skills. You need to highlight the researches that you have conducted. Frederick had a first class. He had a first class. Good grades. When I saw his academic career, I said, wow, this guy is good. If you see the statement of purpose he has written, top notch. You see? So don't just feel that you had a first class. So that is no, people having first class lately, they are not getting admission. And I'm always glad. I'm always happy when I see students having a first class. You see, now in most universities in all over the world, we know, especially in an aspect of the world, people are buying their classes. So most universities would like to do a vigorous scrutiny of you to know if indeed that first class you merit it. Frederick spoke about interview, especially in MBA programs. They will do an interview for you. First interview, second interview. You want to apply for pharmacy, they will do interview for you. You see, Now, there are certain master's programs that if you apply and your supervisor is actually going to agree to supervise you, the supervisor would like to interview you. During that interview session, Frederick spoke about, it's not going to be an interview session just like they do it in your country, the country you're watching from. No, your interview session is supposed to reflect what is done in Canada. Your interview session is supposed to have the interview techniques that are expected of students who are already in Canada. So if you are given the mandate, you are given the opportunity to come and justify yourself, you must quickly do researches about what an interview session looks like in Canada, not what an interview session looks like in Ghana. No, it's going to be an international level. So you must add skills, or you must personally develop yourself that will indicate that you are internationally competitive applicant. Get it? Freddy, that's my closing statement. If you have a closing statement, you make it and you call it a day.
Yeah, I think we've said many things, but what I would say lastly is that, you see, we used to hear so many things, we used to learn so many things, but we easily forget.
Yeah.
But these are things that we should keep on our fingertips in case we want to study outside our country. Because things we see normal with us aren't normal everywhere.
Oh, yes.
And the things we do that we think that is the usual way is not the usual way elsewhere. So we have to take these things into consideration. We are not saying we are experts or we are the best people with the best judgment, but at least if you take a critical look or listen carefully to what we have delivered here, it is something that, you know, when you consider, it is something beneficial, because you cannot submit an application whilst you've not done research about the school. You cannot submit application whilst the personal statement you are writing it not reflect you. You cannot submit application whilst you copied someone's words as yours. These are basic things that we have to know and avoid.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that we have to take these things very seriously in case we really want to study overseas, so that we all achieve what we want to do. I think someone wrote something there.
Look at what the person wrote.
Oh, okay.
I read. So, Freddie, thank you so much for your time. I think we'll meet at the other side and discuss when we'll be back again. So,
yeah,
if you're somebody,
we promised our viewers we will discuss the realities with them. People have been sending messages. Why? What is going on? What kind of reality? But it's not that there is anything too serious or too scary. But they are things you have to know so that you prepare in advance, because things aren't the same as we used to know. Yeah, so you'll come back with that very soon.
Yeah, and I also want to say that I chanced on a report on the attestation for all the provinces. I chanced on some reports like that. I think we'll go through that report and come and discuss with them for people to know, especially those who want to study in colleges and want to do
Yeah.
I chanced on a document like that, so we'll come and discuss so that people have a fair idea about what is happening in all the provinces in terms of undergraduate programs, colleges, and those who want to do their degree programs. However, we'll be coming your way either today or tomorrow to have a Q&A, questions and answer sessions, so that those of you who are having some questions will be able to answer your questions. Now, I have already made an announcement that you can now subscribe on the page. If you subscribe on the page, you're going to have a one-on-one discussions with me. There are people that I give them my number, they want to call me, they send their CV, they send their statement of purpose for me to just use my personal experiences to have a look at them for them. Once I begin to, people begin to subscribe onto the page, that private group, people are having access to me. We'll be having videos only in the subscribers page for people. We'll be giving more information. We'll be giving detailed information to people. Once I begin to do that, people who will send me their CVs, their personal statements, I may not be able to do that. But if you subscribe, you can always have one-on-one with me. I can even book. I've spoken about a couple of people. There is one guy in Nigeria who requested for my number that day. He told me that he wanted us to do video call. He said he should do video call. He wants to look at my face. I said, no problem. So I will be having more time with people who will be subscribing on the page. Frederick and I will be paying much attention to them. We will review their listening, even their letters of explanation. We'll use our personal experiences to review it to them. We'll be doing even the visa application for people with our personal, using our personal experience and what have you. That page is actually one of the best. Facebook actually recommended it. So if you're somebody who wants something of that sort, please consider subscribing to the page, and we'll take it from there. Frederick and I will be there to always support you. So Frederick,
sure.
thank you so much. So see you when you see me.
Okay.
Okay, then guys, bye bye.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.